Alrighty, thanks guys. So I'm John, JP, otherwise known as the Ghost Sloth. Shout out to my sloths in the audience. How do I get this to work? Well, I will be talking about tokenization in just a second. Okay, there we go. All right, perfect. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mantra. We're building a real-world asset layer 1. And the question that I want to talk about a little bit today, what's up, is why do real-world assets need a purpose-built layer 1 blockchain? So if we look at our friend Raoul Paul here, he says there's really no point in pushing for tokenization of all assets when we don't even have a blockchain that can support it. You might be thinking, that doesn't really make sense. People are tokenizing assets on Ethereum. They're tokenizing assets on Solana. Why do we need a specific chain for that? And I'll tell you from a personal experience. So, show of hands real quick, who's heard of Mantra before this year? Few people in the audience. Cito, I know, back in the Polkadot days. So, when we first launched, we were a DeFi project on Polkadot. I know you know too, Ran. DeFi project on Polkadot back in the day. And we had some decent success early on, but we could see that there was regulatory headwinds coming in the space. We initially got back to our roots, and we had done some early onset tokenization deals in the United States back in 2019, 2020, where we actually tokenized a professional basketball player's contract. Pretty interesting offering, but back then there was no DeFi, there was no on-chain technology like we have today. It wasn't the right time. But after initial success with Mantra, DeFi bubble popped. We could see regulatory headwinds coming. I remember being at a conference just like this in New York City in September of 2021 when Do Kwon got issued the subpoena by Commissioner Gensler right as he walked up on the stage. Happy to say that we're in good standing with the Dubai authorities, so no subpoenas for me here today. But effectively, when with all these things happening in the backdrop here, we felt like there was a need for some degree of oversight, some degree of compliance, because people were actually losing their money. They were interacting with contracts, getting rugged. All these bad things were happening in the space, and there was a clear coming of regulation down the pipe. So we saw this, and we initially started looking at the U.S. market as our home base. And this was going quite well. This was, pre-FTX, pre the blowups that we saw in 2022 and 2023. And we wanted to create an on-chain exchange for tokenized assets where we could trade public equities, treasuries, all these things. We found out very quickly that the US was not necessarily the best environment for us to operate this in, just purely because of a lot of the challenges you're facing when dealing with SEC and FINRA. After that, we started looking elsewhere, and one of the places that we chose to come was here in Dubai. We started working with Vara. We started working in Abu Dhabi with ADGM. We started understanding what we can do to operate a compliant on-chain financial ecosystem here, right here in our backyard in Dubai. That being said, when we started building this out, we were educating the regulators on real-world assets, on tokenization, on DeFi, and people still thought DeFi was a scary, scary thing. And they thought, oxymoron, DeFi regulation, how do these things go together? And at this time, we were actually building on Ethereum mainnet, right? And there's a lot of issues with building DeFi applications on Ethereum mainnet, particularly when you're focused on kind of retail, cheap transactions, scalable transactions. It just didn't really work. And at the time, there wasn't other options around. Literally, there was not. We wanted something that was interoperable. Again, we'd come from the Polkadot days. We felt like that wasn't really our play going forward. This was when Solana was still in its SBF moment, so no one was building really on Solana at the time, other than true, convicted builders. And other all L1s like Aptos and Sui and Movement and others weren't even in existence. So we really felt that it was almost pertinent to build our own ground-up solution that had all these different things. It was scalable. It had interoperability solutions built in, and it could really focus on our use case, which is exactly why we chose the Cosmos, this idea of an app chain thesis. And effectively what we've done is we've created an app chain, or an ecosystem built on the Cosmos SDK that created custom modules specifically for tokenization. They are specialized in nature. It takes regulatory compliance into consideration, and it has an element of both permissionless access as well as permissioning. And it is purpose-built, and I'll talk a little bit more about that going forward. But the idea of having a sovereign layer 1 blockchain solution for real-world assets is critical in order to upgrade and enhance and apply regulatory actions as they come up on a global scale, country by country, jurisdiction by jurisdiction. So why tokenize on Mantra Chain? For a number of reasons. We are hyper-focused on real-world assets. We are in the process of getting licensed here in Dubai. We have an ability to have a permissionless layer where anyone can read and write to the blockchain, but a permissioned layer where people can issue real-world assets to make sure that they're safe and secure. And again, it's built on this modular infrastructure. But honestly, the real reason why people tokenize on Mantra Chain is very simple, and it's none of these things. None of these things. If you ask any of the people who are tokenizing hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars of assets, honestly, it's because they trust us, and they believe in us, and they know us. We are specifically for this industry, or specifically for real-world assets, and they know that if something goes wrong, honestly, they can just call me. You know, you're not calling Vitalik if something goes wrong with your real-world asset on Ethereum. It's just not going to work, right? They legitimately have my number, and they know where I live, and they can find me. And that's honestly very important. Real-world assets is built on trust. So what are some of the core features on this modular stack that we built on? 3 core custom modules specifically on real-world asset tokenization, a decentralized ID module, a tokenization module, and a compliance SDK, and I'll kind of break this down a little bit. The DID itself is very simple. Decentralized ID that allows you to onboard your real-world identity and information into a soul-bound NFT with your on-chain wallet that then you have the ability, but not the mandated right, but the ability to interact with the permission ecosystem that requires some degree of AML and KYC compliance. This allows you to effectively connect your personality, or your person, not your personality, could connect your personality in there too, your person, your on-chain wallet, as well as your real-world financial brokerage account, bank account, etc., to really create a seamless transfer of assets on and off-chain. And the other thing that this is really critical is that it allows for a passportable ID that allows you to interact with various different on-chain permissioned applications without having to redo KYC over and over again. Our personal opinion is that, honestly, people don't hate doing KYC. Everyone does KYC to get on crypto exchanges, right? Nowadays, everyone KYCs. But what you hate, I know I hate, is doing it over and over and over again. That honestly sucks. It's annoying. It's a waste of time. And it's a big piece of friction to onboard people into this real-world asset economy. The next module is this tokenization module. This allows people to easily issue utility tokens, real-world asset tokens, security tokens of all different flavors, all different types, that, for example, have different functions built into the smart contract that make it very easy for both Web3 native developers, as well as Web2 developers, or even just TradFi people, to be able to issue real-world assets safely and compliantly and easily. And then this compliance SDK makes it very easy for app builders to issue and create permissioned and permissionless apps that interact with these different real-world assets in a seamless fashion. That allows you to create effectively a customizable governance framework that says people from this and that country cannot interact with this asset, but they can interact with that, all the way down to the smart contract level. That's very, very important because you got to keep people like me, an American, off of these platforms. Unfortunately. Hopefully that will change. Let's see. So we believe, and actually not only do we believe, but many people believe that real-world assets are a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. If you take this as an example, BCG has conservatively forecast that real-world assets are a $16 trillion opportunity by 2030. That's massive. You know, if we're saying that we're focusing on our niche of real-world assets, that niche is freaking huge. But the thing here that's also critically important is that it encompasses any number of different asset classes under the sun. We're exploring all these things, from real estate, to debt, to art, to Pokemon cards. All these things can be tokenized. That doesn't necessarily mean everything should be tokenized, though. Although I see Aaron calling in the front row, and I know he wants to tokenize the Pokemon cards. I do too, I like Pokemon. We're focusing primarily on 3 major assets at the moment. The first being real estate in Dubai. You know, this is the home of real estate. We have really exciting opportunities and deals that we're working on here. Funds and financial assets in nature, so private credit, private equity, real estate funds, all different flavors of fund access under the sun are coming on chain today, literally these days. And IP is another one that's very interesting as well for us. Shout out to the homies at Story. So we believe that Mantra is the home of real-world assets. And we believe that because we are the purpose-built solution for tokenizing assets easily, simply, and compliantly on a sovereign layer 1 blockchain solution. Right here in Dubai, we're happy to be one of the only projects that is focusing on solving a lot of the pain points of real-world assets, because honestly, creating a token is not the hard part. Solving the liquidity issue, having secondary market venues for trading, having people even want to invest in these things is the issue that we're trying to solve and trying to work on. So that's why we've separated into 2 layers, the execution and the application layer. And in this instance, we believe primarily that regulatory enforcement or regulatory application of rules and frameworks happens at the application layer and less so at the protocol layer or execution layer in this instance. So we are building the layer 1 solution that also allows for real-world asset trading and liquidity solutions built on top of it, and this product is called Omega. So Omega is in the process of finalizing its VAR licensing for brokerage, exchange, and asset management. It will be both a DEX as well as a central limit order book for both crypto assets and real-world assets. And the idea here is that it will be interconnected via Mantra Chain on the permission side to a permissionless ecosystem to go trade on other different venues like Osmosis, DYDX, etc. And we do believe we have an innate ability to source very high-quality products, very high-quality real-world assets that, frankly, are investable in the real world. It's very, very easy to just tokenize something and say, great, we've tokenized hundreds of millions of dollars worth of something. If no one's buying it in the primary market, let alone the secondary market, what is the point? If there's no new net money coming into the space, it honestly is just a vanity metric. So it's important that the quality of assets that we're bringing on chain is of the utmost high quality. So we're working with strong partners in Dubai, in the region, as well as internationally, to bring all different types of products on chain that are both safe, secure, and frankly, exciting for people to participate in. And we actually see this as an opportunity that, crosses both bull and bear markets. Because, frankly speaking, what we want to achieve here is that when, Mantra's ecosystem is developed, when there's a number of different products that you can invest in, both on the crypto asset side as well as the real world asset side, it's not a problem to take profit in the ecosystem. It's not this vampirical idea of, farming and then going to the next thing, or farming and going to spend your assets on something else. Ideally, what we want to have here is that when you take profit, you're able to then re-hypothecate that back into other different types of products, whether that's treasuries, whether that's real estate, whether that's a private credit fund from Blackstone. All these things that you've never been able to do on chain, we want you to be able to do in the Mantra ecosystem today. And all it's actually doing is adding TVL, adding liquidity to the ecosystem. It's a net benefit in some instances. This has never really been done before in the pure crypto context. So we do have a large ecosystem that's being developed, and there's a lot of people in this room today who've been supporting us. There's a few names that have been left off of here intentionally that will be coming out very shortly, so I'll just leave that there for now. And we're very excited that mainnet, so you were calling it Uptober. I think it's actually Ohmtober. But we're very excited that mainnet is going to be live in Ohmtober, and I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to a Cosmos influencer, Hackmos, who said big week next week. He said that yesterday. And today, it's now this week, so it's going to be a big week this week. So thank you very much. If you have any questions about real-world assets, about Mantra, about what we're building, please come find us. We have a booth inside. We're happy to share a bit more about what we're building, and hopefully we can collaborate with you all. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it very much.